Okay, so this one's not so much a tutorial, but I did promise I'd show how I made this apple. So I started off with a cake pop mixture. It's a little bit warm at the moment here, so I'm just shaping it into round balls around the size of what I'm wanting. And then I do go back in later once it's set up a little bit and firmed up and shape it into the right size. These aren't just for apples, they're for another project I've got on the go at the same time. But this is the apple one and me shaping that. Next we move on to covering it in fondant. So here I am just adding a little bit of green and yellow. What I do here is I look for the base colour. So I'm not trying to get it exactly the same colour of the apple. I'm going for the lightest shade I can find on the apple, which is like a really pale lime green. I do flick the light on in a mo so you can see it a bit better next to the apple. And this is because I'm intending to paint over the top of it. So I'm not wanting to get the exact colour because I know I'll be adding paint over the top. So here I am wrapping it around the cake pop, just wrap it all the way around. Just shaping it into how I'd like it. Again, this isn't a tutorial, so I wasn't too fussed on showing you every single part. The reason I haven't done this as a tutorial is because it was my first attempt, so I am going to keep redoing this until I get it just how I'd like it. I think with cake it's a bit of trial and error. Watching this back, it made me laugh how close I've got the colour of the apple to what it would probably look on the inside. So here I am just shaping around the top, using my tools. First thing I've noticed is round by the stalk there is a sort of peachy colour, so I tried painting that in first. But I'm not really happy with the coverage of the paint on this. So I do go back in and fiddle around with this again later. I decided to give a bit of airbrushing a go because I do love the coverage an airbrush gives, and it also dries with a bit of a shine, similar to like the real apples have. So I'm just adding a little bit of the peach. Decide to go and get something to pop it on. Bring a little bit of the peach here around the edges, and then I go in with some red, and I try not to get the same colour all over because obviously it varies around the whole of the apple. I don't want to go in and have one, like the apple be the same colour all over. Now I've got a lot of red in the top, so I'm just wetting it down and scraping it out here. That's the only problem with the airbrush, is that it's difficult to control where it goes. I'm dragging a little bit of the red back in to the centre. I do change the camera angle in a minute so that you can see the top a bit better. And I've noticed on the real apples that the red is almost in lines, so I'm using the fan brush there to try and create some lines with the colours on the apple. So what this video doesn't show is it actually took me days to get this apple how I wanted it. Again, it's a bit of a learning process because it is the first time I've done it. So here you can see me taking some of the colouring back out. Didn't like the way the colours mixed together and blended there. More brushing. And here we go, I'm just going to move you to a different angle. So I noticed on the real apples that it had these lovely little spots, so this is what I'm trying to recreate here. Although I didn't find a successful way to do this, I did try a few different ways, which I will walk you through. Again, something that I am going to work on and try with the next one. Added a little bit of green because the real one has got quite a lot of green, but this blended with the red to make a brown, so again, this had to come off. Can't remember whether I show you me taking it off, but I do try and blend it out a little bit first. Add a bit more of the red, try and brush it into the centre, and then pull it back out again. This was to try and recreate the colouring around the stalk. It wasn't really going to plan here. And now we can start to see how it's beginning to look how it should. So I carry on with this method, popping a little bit of water in and then brushing it away. So the water that I'm putting on is loosening up the paint that's underneath. And then this dry brush is pulling it back away from the centre. And here we go again with the spots. So there is a little bit of green colouring in the real apple spots, so putting the green straight on didn't work. So here I am, just with a tiny little pick, popping the smallest little dots on the apple. And then I go in again with the green paint. Then when I brush over with the dry brush, it takes the wet paint away, but leaves a small bit in the indentation that I've just made. So this did work really well. However, I carried on playing around with the apples so much that I actually brushed these away. So again, this is something I will try again on my next attempt. Such a time-consuming process, but I think if I can nail that, that would give it the more realistic feel that I was looking for. I then go back in to work on the top again. I know you don't want to see me keep doing this over and over again, so I have changed the angle and showed you the brush, what the brush is doing and the marks that it's making. This is blending the two different colours. So just before this video, I had sprayed a peachy colour around the base, and I'm just pulling it up and trying to blend between the two different colours here. You also get a closer look at that centre around the stalk in this video too. This is it pretty much done here. So there you go. I'm quite close, but not exactly how I'd like it to be. So there will be another attempt at this. This is me just cutting into it to show you what it looks like on the inside. And I did take a picture of the bottom because I also did the bottom. If you enjoyed watching me do this, please consider subscribing. I am fairly new here and I'd love your support, but also, like I said, I intend to do this one again, and hopefully I can get it a bit closer to the real thing next time. Thanks for joining me. See you again soon.